I have this thirst for blood. This is despicable.
Good evening, Miss Price. How are you tonight?
Dr. Reed, I didn't know you had returned from the war. I had a new doctor when you left, but he's not as kind as you.
Always glad to see a former patient in good condition. It's been a long time.
Too long indeed. And as a token of my appreciation, I'll grant you the best price if you fancy buying anything from my humble shop.
Does your daughter still worry you, Miss Price? I remember you were often concerned about her health when she was younger.
Have you not seen Carol since you returned? She's almost a young woman now, but she'll always remain my sweet little baby.
So you're less afraid?
Some things never change. Carol is still too clumsy for her own good. Sometimes her innocence puts her in real danger.
You have every reason to be cautious, Miss Price. Especially in these difficult times.
Maybe you could talk with her, Dr. Reed. It would be nice to have a man here more often. We would both feel safer.
Why would her innocence put her in danger?
She does not realize how cruel life can be. Maybe I was a bad mother to protect her too much. My poor dear Carol.
Have you noticed anything in particular in this part of town recently?
Other than you coming back to cheer me up? Nothing at all, Dr. Reed.
What can you tell me about yourself, Miss Price?
I'm still managing my shop. The only difference is, since the quarantine, we're open at night. You, on the contrary, seem to have changed a lot.
Really? Have I changed that much? It must have been the war and the night shifts since my return.
Don't get me wrong, Dr. Reed, you're still handsome. Just maybe a little bit wiser, more serious. It suits you well.
Tell me more about yourself. No new fiancé? I remember you were hoping to get remarried. I'm sure you must have a few suitors.
Who would marry an old bat like myself with a grown daughter and a little business? As you know, I only fancy handsome men like yourself.
May I look at your goods, Miss Price?
It's always a pleasure to have you here, Dr. Reed. Take all the time you need. Dr. Reed, I am glad to see you again.
Good evening.
You know you can call me Carolyn, my dear doctor.
Do you know Aloysius Dawson?
Everybody knows him. He's only been to my shop once, though, looking for rare books and other intriguing antiques.
Did he buy something from you?
No, he left quickly. He almost laughed at my goods. Mr. Dawson may be a rich man, but you can't buy good manners.
But isn't Aloysius Dawson known for his philanthropy?
That was before his brother Robert died in an aeroplane crash. Since then, the remaining twin has turned into a heartless tycoon.
Goodbye for now, Miss Price.
Dr. Reed, I am glad to see you again. Be careful, Carol. You're wasting good food here.
Yes, Mother.
I said be careful, child. I'm sorry, sweetheart. Mummy has been so clumsy again.
No, that's okay. It won't bleed for long.
You're so pale. Are you feeling sick? Do you need to see a doctor?
No, I'm fine. I already saw the doctor last week.
Don't be silly. You must see a doctor. Just don't tell him how clumsy your mummy is, all right? I love you so much, my baby.
I love you too, Mother.
I hope you can stay a little longer this time.
It's locked, all right. Good evening, Miss Price.
You know you can call me Carolyn, my dear doctor.
Tell me, Carolyn, do you often wound or hurt your daughter by mistake?
No. I always thought it was Carol's clumsiness that caused these incidents. Maybe it's a family trait, Doctor.
You really believe it's just bad luck and being clumsy, then?
Of course, Doctor. What else could it be? I have nothing to hide.
Goodbye for now, Miss Price.
I hope you can stay a little longer this time.
This is no place for you, sir. I said go back home!
Good evening, sir. May I ask you what you're doing here at this late hour?
I'm conducting an investigation about the epidemic in this part of town.
And who are you, sir?
I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed from the Pembroke Hospital. May I ask who you are and why all the questions?
I'm Detective Inspector Charles Albright from Scotland Yard. and I don't find your answers convincing. What is a Pembroke doctor doing in the West End at this time of night?
I work for the Ascalon Club. Here is my permit to go freely about the city.
The Ascalon Club? You should have said so, sir. I must warn you, these streets are dangerous, and you'd better be careful.
Do you know anything in particular about a man called Alias Dawson?
Who doesn't know the man? I think he intervened personally to put an end to the police strike of last August.
What else can you tell me about him?
Aloysius Dawson is exactly the kind of powerful and influential man who could commit murder and get away with it, with just one phone call.
What are you investigating, exactly?
I have a missing woman, possibly abducted a few nights ago, Louise Teasdale. It seems you already found my other missing person, Mr. Tadao Kimura.
Tell me about Louise Teasdale.
She's a waitress. Her father reported her missing. We don't have enough men to search for her, sadly.
Do you have any idea where she could be?
No, but I feel she's been abducted. She went to a pub a few nights ago and vanished. I thought about the sewers, but I'm not equipped for such an investigation.
What are you investigating?
I have a miss.
Tell me about...
She's a wait.
Do you have...
No.
Why are you investigating at night?
Criminals rarely act in daylight, you know. But since you are also a night worker, have you noticed anything strange which requires police attention?
Does the name Fergal ring a bell? Fergal Bancher.
Of course it does. Fergal Bancher, the Butcher of Galway. Hung in Dublin in 1857 for murdering more than 20 men with his bare hands. Why are you so interested in dead criminals, sir?
What are you really doing here?
I told you. I'm a detective inspector from Scotland Yard, investigating suspicious cases in the area.
What about the situation in the East End? Why are there no police there to protect the civilians?
I know, it's a shame, but we just don't have enough men to cover the entire city.
Do you work alone?
Yes, the situation is difficult for the police. Many of us are sick, and since the summer strike, most men apply a work to rule on their patrols.
What can you tell me about this district?
I'm the one asking questions, especially when there's a killer on the loose.
What killer?
I'm not going to discuss that with the civilians, sir.
Haven't I told you about the investigation I'm conducting? Perhaps I could help you.
All right, without giving you too much information, I'll tell you this. I'm convinced there is a homicidal maniac on the loose, using the epidemic to disguise his kills.
And what about the epidemic?
We both know the situation is critical, don't we, Doctor? Colleagues of mine die almost every day.
Tell me all you know about that homicidal maniac you're looking for.
I'm not even sure there is only one. The wounds are always the same, but the modus operandi varies. Sometimes violent and brutal, sometimes precise and swift.
How could different killers inflict the same wounds?
That's my main problem. If my theory is correct, maybe we're facing a group of individuals sharing the same violent tendencies. Perhaps a sadist cult.
Goodbye, Detective Inspector Albright.
Goodbye, Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Jonathan Reed. Do you need my help?
Yes, please. Would you be kind enough to tell me what the time is?
That's all you need to know.
Well, is it not important to know? As important as where you are? Or who you are?
I suppose you're right. And who are you then, sir?
I am Agamemnon Baker. Like my brother, I think we need to leave this city immediately. And my brother and I rarely agree on anything.
What can you tell me about your brother?
He's older than me, I think. But the important thing is that I really hope I'll die before him. Grief would just kill me, you know?
Is that all?
Pericles is very attached to this city, and without my insistence, he would never leave this place. We don't often agree on anything, you see.
What can you tell me about this part of town?
It's the only place I've considered myself happy. Or at least that's what I believe. Unfortunately, it's time to leave.
Why is that?
Because I'm not feeling happy here anymore. Are you?
No, I'm not.
Good for you. It's a good thing to have a clear idea of where you stand concerning crucial questions. Don't you think?
May I ask what you're doing outside at this hour of night?
I don't know. You should ask my brother instead. It was his idea in the first place.
You must have your own ideas.
From what I have managed to understand, I guess we're supposed to wait here. Waiting for someone to come.
May I ask why you've not gone already, if you're so exasperated by this long wait?
I believe fear is holding us back. My brother would have said it's laziness, but it's just because he's prouder than I am.
Who are you waiting for, exactly?
The more I think about it, the more I believe it's not exactly a person we are waiting for.
But what else could it be, then?
I don't know. A feeling? An event? An impulse? How can I tell? Something that would allow us to leave this trap.
Trap? And you think leaving London will free you?
At least it will give us the chance to be free. That's more than our present situation. Hope, Doctor. Hope is what truly drives mankind.
I'm afraid I'm not following you. What kind of trap are you talking about?
Have you ever felt like life trapped you in a role that does not fit you? That you are not in your place? That sort of trap.
What can you tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
You should ask that question to my brother instead. Personally, I've not seen Aloysius for many years.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Baker. Good evening, sir. I'm Dr. Reed. Can I be of assistance?
Dr. Reed? Dr. Reed?
Is there anything wrong?
No, it's just... your name sounds familiar. And your face. Have we met before?
I think I would remember. So I suppose the answer is no.
That's odd. I'm certain I've already heard of you. My name is Pericles Baker. Does that mean anything to you?
I'm afraid not, sir. But it's a pleasure to meet you anyway.
The pleasure is mine, I guess. I only wish I could remember when it was that we met.
Who are you waiting for? I'm sure he has a name.
I really can't answer that question, since I don't know that person.
And why is that?
This person is mostly my brother's acquaintance. I don't even know his real name. Only that this man could help us leave this city once and for all.
But why would you need this person's help to leave London anyway?
Well, I thought we should have left this cursed place already, but my brother convinced me to stay a while longer, and here we are.
Tell me about yourself, Mr. Baker. What are you doing out here in the middle of the night?
We are waiting. Waiting for someone.
And why are you waiting for this person?
Because we need to leave this city. As soon as possible.
Why do you want to leave the city?
I'm not really sure.
And what do you do, sir? For a living, that is.
I stopped working when I decided to leave. When I realized what I wanted. Wanted something this city can't provide.
Tell me more about why you want to leave London, then.
I just don't belong here anymore. I had to convince my brother to leave London because I know we need to find another life out of the city.
But what were you doing before you took this decision?
Does it really matter anymore? Considering the past seems so pointless to me. I have lived in this city all my life, and now I think it's over.
Can you tell me anything?
As you like, Arthur.
Please.
Do you like?
I know we are not living in the most peaceful of times, but I have learned to appreciate London's complexity.
Yes, me too. This city tests us. It invites us to find ourselves, to discover our true nature scattered throughout its dark streets.
But what if we don't like what we find?
Do we ever know who we are? I wonder sometimes. Or maybe it is the journey to find out who we are that changes us.
Pericles, tell me why your brother disagrees with your presence here.
Agamemnon is naive sometimes. Although don't consider him a fool, sir. He is often more lucid than me.
What can you tell me about your brother?
If you are searching for a pleasant chat, you should speak with him instead of wasting your time with me. He has always been the more gentle of us.
That's it? That's all you can tell me about him?
For the time being, true kindness is the most valuable quality, my good sir.
At least you both have the same difficulty explaining what you're doing, and for what reason.
But is that not a common problem for all mortals?
What can you tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
I've heard this is a man who has searched for his place in the world for a long time. I hope he found it.
Goodbye, Mr. Baker.
Hello again, Doctor.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Baker.
We should be far from town already. All right, but where would we go? Anywhere. Anywhere that isn't here. And what is that, by the way? A safer place? A less strange place? And where would that be? Life is strange, and we are alive. For now, yes, but for how long? If we decided to flee, we should be far from town already. All right, but where would we go? Hello again, Dr. Reed.
What are you really afraid of, Agamemnon?
The problem is, It's precisely what I don't know that frightens me. So I suppose I can't really answer your question.
Tell me, how long have you been waiting here?
I can't say for sure, since I have no watch. But the night is still young, and I am not tired.
Is that the most honest answer you can give me?
Yes, I think so. Why does it irritate you, sir? Is comprehension really that important to you?
I know one thing. I do not understand who you are.
And it's better that way. What kind of life would we live if we could summarize a person in a few words or a few lines?
I'm a scientist. I try my best to understand things. I know the world has to obey unbreakable rules.
You know, or you want the world to obey such rules?
If you finally manage to leave London, where do you intend to go?
A happy place, that's for sure. A place where I can smile because I know the next day will be better than the previous one.
Such a place doesn't exist. There are never any guarantees that tomorrow will be a better day.
That would mean I have no hope left, and I just can't accept such a conclusion.
Goodbye for now, Mr. Baker. Good evening, Mr. Baker.
Why do I always have feelings of déjà vu when I talk to you?
Heracles, what are you going to do now?
I don't know. Perhaps it's time to leave. Perhaps we should stay a little longer. How can I tell?
And where exactly are you thinking of going?
In a place where I will finally have that feeling, to be where I belong. The world has to be meaningless chaos to make such a heaven plausible.
How long have you been waiting for this man?
Sometimes I feel as though I've been waiting for him for ages. Perhaps it is my role in life to wait for him. Not a pleasant thought.
It could be dangerous for you, waiting here all night.
That's quite true. But what other choice do we have? We are waiting here until we finally go.
Why are you still waiting for this person?
What would be the point of going before meeting the man, as he's going to help us leave?
Mr. Baker, I have met many strange people during my life, but you are definitely one of the strangest.
Really? I don't feel particularly odd or weird. All I want to do is leave. What's wrong with that?
Tell me more about your strange feelings towards the city.
I would be happy to describe them, but it's too hard to explain with mere words what I'm feeling. It's unclear, too confused.
Go on, please.
Where should I start? The world is chaos. Men go mad, and nature itself runs roughshod over us all.
This is not the first time mankind has faced a deadly epidemic or a war.
Men kill each other, while nature decides to kill them all. I don't know what scares me the most. Do you?
Plagues and epidemics can be seen as an implacable force, a curse even. But the ferocity of mankind worries me more, for we choose what we do.
Yes. At least nature is not aware of all the suffering she brings to us. At least that's what I am hoping.
Goodbye, Mr. Baker.
perhaps London will survive the epidemic, but I see terrible trials awaiting in the future. Jonathan Reed. At last we meet. The cards warned me you would visit tonight.
I beg your pardon, sir. Do I know you?
Of course you do. Our mutual friend, Dr. Swansea, can't speak highly enough of you. My name is Usher. Usher Talltree.
You are the leader of the Brotherhood, are you not?
Primate of the Brotherhood of St. Paul's Stole, to be precise. I'm really glad we met tonight. I love it when the cards tell me a truth.
The cards told you to expect me.
Yes, they tell me everything. They told me that you struggle hard not to take too many lives.
How do you measure the amount of blood on my hands?
I told you. The cards always tell the truth. Well, most of the time.
Is it possible to tell me my future?
A vampire's fate is much more delicate to read, Doctor. But I can try.
All right. Let me hear it.
The walls of your prison have already been raised, Jonathan. But you will freely accept to be locked inside, full of hope for a better day.
I would rather not know. How do you measure the amount of blood on my hands?
I told you. The cards always tell the truth. Well, most of the time.
Is it possible to tell me my future?
A vampire's fate is much more delicate to read, Doctor.
May I ask you about the Brotherhood?
Of course. But I must warn you that there are some subjects we consider taboo, in spite of our fondness and acceptance of your kind.
Who founded the Brotherhood?
That's precisely the kind of question I cannot answer. It is delicate, and may reveal some of our secret traditions.
So you're not just a club of academics and scholars?
Once upon a time, very long ago, the Brotherhood did more than simply study the vampires. They took actions to eliminate the more ferocious and corrupted.
I know there is no love lost between the Guard of Priwen and the Brotherhood. What caused this rift?
It was 1801. The Brotherhood was stronger then, a strength that made them hungry for ever greater power. An argument divided them, and the wound never healed.
What was the nature of the disagreement?
The problem was that both sides considered themselves the legitimate heirs of the original Brotherhood. We divide up the books, the relics, not always fairly or with consideration.
Tell me about yourself. What do you do here, besides turning cards in the middle of the night?
I'm for most a charlatan. For a few, I'm a vampire. And for you, I'm the primate of St. Paul's Stole.
For how long have you been a primate?
It was 15 years last year.
What do you make of Dr. Swansea?
Edgar is a brilliant and dedicated man. A man of his time, sometimes a little muddled, but always looking for new paths and new concepts.
Some believe you to be a vampire. Who?
The Guard of Priwen, who else? For a time, they sent spies to observe my activities, and they even broke into my home to gather proof.
Did they steal anything from you?
A personal notebook they quickly took to their headquarters. All they had to do is to look at me. I'm aging. What better and definite proof that I'm not an immortal?
Do you want your notebook back?
If you ever find it, I'd be glad to have it back, of course. I do ask one thing, though. Do not read it, Jonathan. Some secrets are not meant to be revealed, even to immortals.
Can you read the cards for me?
Are you sure you want to know what they will reveal?
Yes, I am.
It will cost you 150 shillings.
Perhaps later. What can you tell me about the neighborhood?
I really don't know. I don't often go outside. And when I do, it's usually to quite distant destinations.
So you see nothing in the stars for me? You're a poor fortune teller, then?
Oh, I can tell you many things, but they will only concern you, not the city. For example, I know that you offered your sister the final rest she asked for.
Read my fortune, then.
You have been chosen, Jonathan. I see on you the mark of a strong being, so powerful it needn't even reveal its strength.
Do the cards speak of my Mary?
No. It's the burning aura of guilt that precedes you everywhere you go.
How did you learn about Mary? And spare me the hocus-pocus parlor tricks. The truth, now!
Swansea told me. Don't look at me like that. His task is to observe and gather information about vampires. He had to tell me about Mary.
Mary did not deserve her fate. She had already suffered enough during her life. And yet the pain and the suffering went on after her death.
Suffering is part of the immortal condition. Some prefer to lose their minds rather than face the simple truth. Pain will never stop.
Is there anything you could tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
Aloysius Dawson. Yes, of course. We met on several occasions. With time, he got deeper and deeper into the occult.
He's not the only one. It's been quite the fashion for several decades. The Golden Dawn, for instance, is just one example.
True. Aloysius was a member of the Golden Dawn until 1900. Then his thirst for dark knowledge grew. I'm talking forbidden texts, readings which blackened his heart.
Goodbye, sir. Until we meet again.
I rarely wander, yet it amuses me to converse with your kind. The Fool and the Empress. Again. What are the cards trying to tell us?
I cannot enter.
I hope you can stay a little longer this time.
Dr. Reed.
What are you inventing?
Well, what?
I don't... Goodbye.
Goodbye, Dr. Jonathan Reed. I'm sure we'll talk again soon.
Stupid beast!
Huber! Kill it! There's one of them! Watch yourselves!
Miss Reed worries me, Mr. Jonathan. She sometimes sneaks out alone and can't find her way home.
Good evening, Miss Ashby.
And good evening to you, Dr. Reed.
Good.
She's been quite busy these last few nights.
Please tell me more about your recent investigation.
As long as you lower your voice. Goodbye, my dear. Please, be careful.
Lord Redgrave can play with the brave all he wants, but I won't put a foot outside until the Pre-Wen end their hunt.
Please, sir, whether you need to buy something or not, I am happy to help. Good evening, Dr. Reed. A great night, what?
I have found a restaurant that could satisfy you, Mr. Russell. The most intriguing and exotic restaurant in London.
Really? You have piqued my interest. Where is it?
It's a place where you eat in complete darkness and try to identify your meal without anything but your palate.
My, oh my, how interesting. It could even be fun to eat a little poisson et frites that way. Oh, thank you, Dr. Reed. Please, have this for your research.
Do you know anything about a man called Aloysius Dawson?
He used to be a big spender. One day, he sent 3 houseboys to buy all the beluga in my shop. For his brother's birthday, if I remember correctly.
I see. Anything else? Less gastronomic, perhaps?
I really can't say. The man is filthy rich. But you know that, of course.
I may have a... Good evening, Miss Teasdale. How have you been since you returned home?
Dr. Reed. Oh, thank God you returned safely from these awful streets. I was so worried about my father that I left without thanking you properly.
Please don't mention it, miss.
Good. I found him, you know. My dad. Or what was left of him. I think my abductor intended to do the same thing to me.
What can you tell me about Aloysius Dawson?
Never heard of him.
Really? He's very well known in London. Throughout the country, even.
He a big shot or something? Never interested in politics myself. All words and no action.
What can you tell me about this area?
I've never really liked this part of town. It was where my father wanted to live. I won't remain here much longer.
What exactly don't you like about it?
People here are contemptuous and elitist. My dad always said, Louise, always treat people like you want them to treat you.
What do you do for a living, Miss Teasdale?
Before my kidnapping, I was a waitress in a pub. Now I'm unemployed.
Were you fired?
No. It's just that after my recent experience, I don't feel like I can go back to my normal life. I need to do something useful.
What do you intend to do?
Dad always told me, Louise, if you want something, don't stop until you have it. I did my research and I found it. Ichabod Throgmorton, professional vampire hunter. I'll be his apprentice.
Be very careful, Miss Teasdale. You were lucky to escape death once, but vampires lurk everywhere.
You killed my kidnapper by yourself, didn't you? No offense, Doctor, but you're just a doctor. I don't see why I couldn't do the same.
Do you need my medical attention, miss?
I don't need your help specifically. I can assure you there are many competent doctors around.
I have no doubt about it, but I'm offering you my help anyway.
All right then, but please leave me alone for now.
What do you do for a living, Miss Teasdale?
Before my kidnapping, I was a waitress in a pub. Now I'm unemployed.
Were you fired?
No.
Louise, tell me what you really think about your father's sacrifice to save you.
I'm proud he went after me. I forgive him all his harsh words, all his bloody attitudes. I only wish I could tell him how much I loved him.
Yes. It can be traumatic, not having the chance to say goodbye to those we love.
Yes, Doctor. And there's no treatment for that type of pain, isn't that right? That may be the last thing my father taught me.
Why did your father feel guilty? He seemed so eager to welcome you back, as though he'd done something wrong.
The last time we saw each other, we had a terrible argument. I left the house and ended up in a pub. That's where the vampire met me. Dead drunk.
I see.
We argued a lot, me and Dad. But I always came home. I'm sure that's why he went to find me. He knew something bad had happened.
Your father never gave up on you. In the end, he risked everything to save the daughter he loved.
Yeah, that was my dad. Tough bastard, just like me. Even if I'd broken his leg, he would have gone looking for me.
What do you mean?
That last argument we had, it was more of a fight, actually. He slapped me and I kicked him hard in the balls.
You seem to cherish your father a great deal.
Dad was the best. He kept an eye on me, but let me make my own mistakes. Louise used to say, mistakes are the best teacher. You would have liked him.
I'm sorry you didn't have the opportunity to say goodbye.
That's all right. He's buried in consecrated ground now. Nothing bad can happen to him.
Louise, what can you tell me about the vampire who captured you?
The little fucker claimed he'd fallen in love with me. That he wanted to spend eternity with me. Not a bad idea. At least that's the way it seemed at first.
Really? Did you consider accepting his proposal?
Well, immortality. Not a common wedding gift, is it? I think he just wanted to have his way with me. Can vampires even fuck, Doctor?
What? Well, I really can't answer that. Since they are creatures of blood, physically speaking, I suppose an erection is possible, but
Don't be embarrassed, Dr. Reed. I was just asking.
Goodbye, Miss Teasdale, and be careful. Until we meet again.
Don't let any strangers come into your house. Have you noticed anything suspicious recently?
It's always been your house.
Remember, don't let any strangers come into your house. Have you noticed anything suspicious recently? Remember, Don't let any strangers... Don't let any strangers...
Women die too in this war!
We meet again, Mr. Kimura, in a more peaceful situation.
Dr. Reed, still visiting London by night?
We must both be nocturnal animals, you and I. After your captivity, I thought you'd be more cautious.
Breathing the cold night air helps calm my mind, sir. I've had the most frightening nightmares since I escaped that filthy jail.
What can you tell me about your abduction?
If you really want to know, I was locked in that building for 3 or 4 days. My jailer was insane, mumbling about sacrifice and voices.
What did he say about voices?
He constantly whined about the voice of his master, ordering him to do terrible things. He wanted to silence the voice by offering blood. My blood.
And why didn't he sacrifice you?
That was the weirdest part. He claimed to spill blood was not enough. It had to be done when some stars were aligned.
Which stars?
That's the whole point. He wanted me to talk to him about some Red Queen configuration or constellation. I've never heard of such an astronomical term.
Tell me, Tadao, why was your abductor so interested in your passion for astronomy?
I dunno. We met a few times at the Royal Greenwich Observatory. He seemed to share my hobby. Then he invited me to his house and locked me in.
Yes, astronomy is a fascinating subject. When I was a child, my mother bought a small telescope for my sister and I. We spent many a pleasant evening stargazing.
Stars are not just dots in the sky, Doctor. They are the key to our understanding of the cosmos. They remind us how insignificant we are.
You're right. But children love magic and stories. I remember our mother told us constellations have the power to protect us.
Protection by the light of the stars. That's sweet. You remember the name of these constellations?
Cygnus. The constellation that was supposed to protect Mary.
Memory's a strange thing. I can recite without hesitation the names of the 88 constellations, yet I barely remember my own childhood.
Did he fake his interest in astronomy to get close to you?
No. In his madness, he spoke about a blood sacrifice to be made to his master when the stars aligned to a specific configuration.
How is the situation in the West End?
I've heard rumors about armed men patrolling and fighting infected citizens in these very streets. I was lucky they didn't shoot me when I was abducted.
May I ask you what you do for a living, Mr. Kimura?
I was a landlord. A wealthy one. And not a very kind one, I realized recently.
Why this sudden epiphany? Is it because of your near-death experience?
I was already feeling nostalgic about Weymouth, my hometown. With recent events, I'm thinking about going back there.
Why are you so nostalgic for your hometown, Tadao?
I was focused so much on making money, I almost forgot that my relatives and friends are threatened by this epidemic.
Have you no friends at all?
Over the years, I'm afraid my greed turned me into my friend's adversary, while I became friends with my professional rivals.
Those you grew up with didn't share your views on money and success.
Would you believe I was once a member of poetry circles and an astronomy club? We were young, such joyful dreamers then. But I stopped laughing long ago.
Have you heard anything from your family?
I was not only a bad landlord, I was also a bad husband. I've not seen my wife and son for years. Busy, busy, busy.
At least now you're ready to go back and see them. But don't be surprised if your son bears a grudge, sir.
You make it sound like you suffered from an absent father yourself, Dr. Reed. Well, I'll keep your warning in mind.
Can you change? And is it what you really want? If so, it must come from within, not without.
I've seen what an altruistic gesture can do. Nothing forced you to save me, Dr. Reed, but you did. I will follow your example in these matters from now on.
There is no need to thank me. Rescuing a London citizen should not be out of the ordinary, though I'm afraid it may appear so in these difficult times.
You did not only rescue me, you fought for me. You put your life in danger to save me. That's quite extraordinary.
How will you cope if you're attacked again?
I don't know. I've heard about these men and women who patrol the West End every night, chasing criminals like my abductor. Maybe I should join them.
Do you know anything about a man called Aloysius Dawson, by any chance?
I've never met the man personally, but I invested money in some of his companies when I came to London. A brilliant businessman.
Goodbye, Mr. Kimura. Take care.
Is there anything to connect me to this city anymore?